Hey guys, Ryan here for Bender Wins. Hope everyone's doing well today. Here with your 2023 recap. Very excited to go through this. I know a lot of you guys have been asking, where is it? Here we are, okay? My apologies, a little bit later than we were last year. Most of you guys know I was pretty sick throughout the month of February, feeling like $1 million now. So I want to go through this with you. And above and beyond the recap, when we are done the recap, guys, I have something extra special for you guys. The number one asked request and question that I have gotten over the last 5-6 years of social media: how do you cap a game? I'm going to walk you through that, guys, start to finish, steps A through Z, and we're going to go through that, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what it takes to cap a game, identify value, and bet that value. All right, so for 2023, guys, we had a total return right around 53%, or 53 units. The breakdown of that is a 48.58 unit win, and add on to that 4.45 sprinkles. This is where the extra little bit of hard work that you do every single day pays dividends. And believe me, guys, when you start adding this into your compound interest calculators, it makes a significant difference over the long term. So similar to last year, I want to do a bit of a breakdown sport by sport. I want to talk about why last year lagged behind our other years, where in past years, 87%, 110%, 71%. So why only 53 units? I say only 53. It's a good number, but definitely below where we want to be, or where I want to be. So I want to talk about that, talk about the things that jump out at me as being possible reasons why, we're lagging behind my expectations where I want to be. But let's first take a look at our sports and our overall performance. So for the second year in a row, shockingly, NFL, number one, at plus 52.8 units. Football in general, very, very good to us, guys. NCAA football. NCAA football, plus 14 units. As I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, do we have CFL? I don't think I have CFL on here. Anyways, I'll get back to you with CFL. So, NCAA football, plus 14 units. College basketball, plus 12 units. NHL, plus 9. At one point, you guys noticed at one point last year, we were pumped way up on NHL, had a bit of a downturn. OHL, just over a unit. Now, I've had people ask me recently, why aren't we betting OHL anymore? Because we bet a fair amount of OHL last year. Why are we not betting OHL anymore? Very, very simple. I am in the process of looking to purchase or buy into an OHL team. So I've been approaching, or I have approached, it's a dead deal, but I approached the Barrie Colts. They're not interested in opening their books for minority or majority ownership. I talked to City of Peterborough, who owns the Peterborough Petes, not interested in selling, and I don't blame them because they just won the Ontario Hockey League Championship, so I don't think it would look very good on them to immediately sell that team. But I have a couple other feelers out there. I have people, and we call them agents, out there looking and exploring options for that. So probably never make an OHL bet ever again. So don't expect it. German Bundesliga, almost a unit. There's a mix of, I think we have the World Baseball Classic and a couple other things. About a unit. WNBA, just under, or 0.37 unit loss. EPL, very disappointing there. 8.84 unit loss. NBA, 13 unit loss. And then the most shocking of all, and believe me, guys, when I tell you this, anyone wanted to bet me last year, if I did everything the way that I always do it, that MLB would not only not be in the green, but be my lowest sport in terms of units, I probably would have bet $1 million on it, because that is the first time in my career where that has been down there. Now, if you guys have been following for a long time, you know where MLB sits. Here, here, and here. Always. Because there is so many variables, there are so many opportunities for profit. This is a major, major shock and a major disappointment, and also part of the reason why we are seeing that number down from where it should be, okay? To be perfectly honest with you, if I were to see the inverse of this, to see a 16 unit gain on the year in MLB, I still wouldn't be happy with that, okay? MLB is far and away, or should be far and away, our number one profit center on the year. The fact that we've been crushing football year in and year out is amazing. That is the cherry on top. But throughout the course of the year, MLB should be our bread and butter in terms of total units won. It's not going to have the highest winning percentage. It's not going to have a higher winning percentage than, say, NFL will. But it's absolutely, or it should absolutely be number one in terms of units. Okay, so that could be one possible explanation to explain why we've seen a decrease in this number. But that being said, we have seen a significant increase in NFL. So there is some balancing out there. We can't completely blame that on MLB. Couple other things to talk about and to do a quick breakdown. So this is basically, in a nutshell, without being perfectly to scale, what last year looked like. Okay, so starting off the year, a little bit of roller coaster, drifting up, and then we had, again, a downturn. A lot of this, again, due to late season, NHL, early little bit of baseball where, as we mentioned, we were lagging behind in baseball. And then all of a sudden, and this is not an illustration, if anyone has been tracking in Action Network, and I hope all of you guys were, if you take a look at your Action Network graph, this is not an exaggeration. This is what the last 5-6 months of last year looked like. It was a straight line up. Now I come out here all the time and I say, look, this is the reality of sports betting. You know, you have ups and downs, and I say it is never a straight line up. We want it to be, it never is. Except the last 5-6 months of last year was a straight line up. The only time we saw any regression at all, towards the year end, basically, we had a downturn, we had a little tick up, and then the last week of the year, not good for us. So drifted back down a little bit. It was looking at one point like we were going to be sitting around the 60 unit range, and then we had a disappointing week to finish off. The number one factor, at least from a mathematical standpoint, that has contributed to this number being lower were the number of bad beats that we took in 2023. Now, I want to talk a little bit in greater detail about the bad beats and have people have just a better understanding of the math behind it, because it's important to understand that this should be a zero-sum event, meaning there should be 50% and 50%, as long as we are using the same tool to measure both sides. It'd be like me handing you a coin, and the coin has heads and it has tails. We know that that is an equally weighted coin, and it should come up 50-50 because we're using the exact same tool. And this is no different. So what we had at the end of 2022, going back to 2022, people started making comments like, you know, how are we getting so many bad beats? Like, when was the last time we had a good beat go our way? Okay, fair enough, right? So I made a decision in 2022, okay, going back to 2022, that I was going to start tracking the bad beats at the tail end of last year. And then all through 2023, I'd be tracking good beats, games that went our way, versus bad beats, games that went against us, okay? Now, the good beats simply measured as games that we have a 10% or less expectation of winning that turn around and win for us, okay? A bad beat is the exact inverse. Same measurement tools, same protocols. It is 90% expected to win, and that game ends up losing. So you can see these should be zero sum. They should be 50-50. They should be balanced. What we can see here, based on the full year 2023 results, we had 61 good beats. Okay, these are 61 games that we were down and out, they went our way, versus 138 that went against us. Now, it doesn't take a lot of number crunching to determine that if this number is 50-50, we are well above this range and probably sitting somewhere in between here, if not closer to that number. Okay, now I also measured another thing, just more so for my own entertainment. This was super bad beats, okay? These are games that are 99% to win and lose, or in our case, 1% to win and we managed to win them, okay? Those were 8 for us versus 16 against us. So again, it's a fairly large anomaly. I have been measuring it again this year. We are continuing to see a fairly lopsided position here in terms of seeing more bad beats against than good beats for. But that being said, over the long term, all things being equal, over the long term, this should revert back to the mean, which is 50-50. Okay? So I'm not saying that we're due for luck. that is not something that happens in math, okay? Because math is about probability from the starting point, and the starting point's always moving, okay? It'd be like watching these guys at the roulette table because they've seen black 9 times in a row. So they start betting red and think, well, it has to come red sooner or later. It doesn't, okay? Because each event is independent from last. So history be damned, okay? It doesn't matter what we've done in the past. It doesn't mean that we're going to naturally catch back up to that. It doesn't mean it's going to balance itself out. It should, however, and what I would be happy with from here on out, what everybody I think would be happy with, is 50-50, okay? And that is what we want to see. All we want to see is have the luck factor removed from it. Because when we're out here finding value and we're beating the closing lines, you guys know what we do to the closing lines. We're beating these closing lines. The only thing that we want to be removed from this equation is luck. Okay, and this absolutely is good luck versus bad luck, unless you believe something else. Okay, so we'll leave it at that for the breakdown, but it does kind of show and does kind of explain. And again, you'll notice that if you were to take that to 50-50, we're right in between this range and probably close to the 110. So again, this is one of the reasons why we lag down closer to 53% return for the year. MLB, another one, but that is offset a little bit by our unbelievable performance in NFL. Back-to-back years that NFL has been our number one sport, which is very, very, very impressive. So yeah, again, weird chart. This is not a chart that we've seen before. Often, as I told you guys, sports betting kind of looks like, like the beginning of the chart, and then you get, your ups and your downs, and, this and that, and, so on and so forth, and then that, and, that's indicative of a sports betting chart, okay? That's what it should be. This is highly unusual. However, considering the direction it's pointed, we'll absolutely take it. Now, before I get on to answering and going through the number one question you guys always ask me, which is, how do you cap a game? I want to talk a little bit about, expectations about the long term, because we have a lot of new people in Masterclass, okay? I mean, a lot of new people in Masterclass, and it's very important that in sports betting, we're doing things the right way. I talk about it all the time, but you're managing expectations, okay? And I've done in past videos where I talked about why so many people can't make it in sports betting, because the reality is, what we're doing here is actually fairly simple when you break it down, okay? What we're doing is simply identifying value, okay? A mispriced number. I'm doing that. On your end, your only real requirement, other than, shopping the lines, finding the best value, putting in a bit of work, is to practice perfect bankroll management. Now that sounds easy, right? Just don't deviate from bankroll management. Over the course of a year, that looks terrific. Great, 53%. I would imagine that stockbrokers would sell their first, second, and third born children to return 53%. Considering all of Wall Street is out there trying to chase 8, 9, 10%. You do double digits on Wall Street, you are a god. Plain and simple. And what does Wall Street have that we don't have? Recessions. That is the beautiful thing about sports betting. These numbers don't care. They don't care if the economy is good. They don't care if the economy is bad. They don't care if interest rates are high, if interest rates are low. If the markets are up, the markets are down. Unemployment up, unemployment down. Doesn't matter. We can perform no matter what, but only if you practice perfect bankroll management. Now, when I first started doing this years ago, I was a little bit naive, okay? I figured, you know what? I'm going to come out here. I'm going to tell people the exact right way to bet on sports. And because I've made all these mistakes in the past, I'm the guy who, chased his losses all the time, blew his bankroll up so many times I can't even count. Got scammed by, 1-800-SCAM-ME sports betting, right? John Ryan, ATS Sports, 68% winners. Give us a call, right? And I'm like, wow, it's amazing. They're hitting 68% all season. Now all of a sudden they're hitting 42. Crazy, right? I made all these mistakes, okay? I made the mistakes, so I figured if I come out and I tell people this is the right way to do it, then everyone's going to do it. And that was naive on my part, because I think for a lot of people, it's not necessarily about someone telling you don't do it. Okay, you have to experience, you have to learn it for yourself. And I think a lot of people, after hearing it, the message has sunk in. And I know for a fact we have people in masterclass who gave it a shot, it was working well, and then all of a sudden, honest with me, Bender, I blew my bankroll up. I'm so sorry. Can I come back? And look, we have these hard and fast rules. And to be honest with you, every single person that's ever taken the time to write out and be honest about it, I've let back into masterclass, because the reason we're here is to help people. And I understand that it was naive of me to think that, look, everyone is just going to stick to bankroll management the first time. Part of this is going to be changing the rules for masterclass, for entry and exit of masterclass, etc., etc. That's going to be coming in the very near future. But it was naive to think that everyone's just going to follow it perfectly, and that's going to be that. And let me show you guys the problem, okay? So January 1st, let's use the red one, because this is weird. It's an anomaly. We don't see this very often, but let's use this red one, because that's a very accurate illustration of what sports betting looks like, okay? So we started here, you're at 0%. All right, we finish off here, well, let's call it whatever, 60%, okay? You finish off here 60%. So January 1st, you get started, and then magically, a genie pops out of a can you have, and you snap your fingers, and now it's December 31st, and you open your sports books up, and you're like, wow, I'm up 60%. Great, right? All you had to do that whole year was nothing. Okay, you had to bet the games. You had to go on there, bet the games. But when I say do nothing, I mean practice bankroll management. Okay, the expression where people say do less is more, that's applicable here. Doing less, okay? Because where we find ourselves in problems is right here and right here. Because these are the two main problem areas where people fall off. Okay, where people end up deviating from bankroll management. And without fail, it's the God complex of the wins, okay? Well, look at what we've done our two-unit plays, okay? What are we sitting at right now? I think 57 and 18. So, Bender comes out with a three-unit play. Well, he's 57 and 18, so he's got a three-unit play. Just going to throw my whole account on there, throw my half account. It's the God complex, this feeling that, we can't lose, right? Well, we did lose our last three-unit play, and I know for a fact that some people went a little bit too heavy on that game, despite me coming out and saying, don't do it. So I'm sitting here today saying, don't do it, all right? The reality is, by doing less, you are getting more, okay? Now, that's not very true of many things in life, is it? Okay? People always tell you, you only get out of something what you put in. You gotta put in the work. We're here. You do have to put in the work, but the work you have to put in is to keep yourself from making stupid decisions, okay? I was the king of stupid decisions. My last time I blew my bankroll up, waving this around, last time I blew my bankroll up, I had worked to build this up over the course of months and months and months. It was a huge return, and then all of a sudden, in 2 days, gone, okay? And I almost quit sports betting. I took a month off from it. When I came back, I said, I'm never going to deviate again. The definition of insanity was me, okay? Doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result, okay? I knew that if I wanted this to work, I had to stick to it. That was well over 22 years ago now, and I have not deviated from bankroll management, not even once. Not even once for any reason whatsoever. And at this point, it's simply about principle that I won't do it. Could I afford to go and throw down a $5,000 parlay, have a few beers just for the hell of it? Sure, I could. But I'm never going to do that. Okay? So, right here, that's the second one. And we don't have to go far back in our history to see this, okay? Because we just went through it. And again, it doesn't matter how many times I prepare people by coming out and saying, every single year we will have losing streaks, okay? Right here to right here. Let's have a quick look at this, okay? This isn't like a straight line down, but let's look at right here to right here. This, my friends, is 2.5 to 3 months of your life. Now, Interestingly, we're just a little over 3 months or 2.5, 3 months into this year. So imagine going back to the very first day of the month and it's just this kind of downward movement, right? How would that feel? Not very good, okay? Considering to start this year, we were up, rocking and rolling, and then crashing back down again, okay? But it's actually been a relatively short term. You can have months where you have 2.5 months of losing, okay? Now, right here is a perfect illustration to show right here, you know what? Someone's like, I identify this area and they say, you know what? Tired of losing, this sucks. When are we ever gonna win again? Okay, look, this might be 6 weeks. 6 weeks of shit, okay? Pardon my French, shit. Just, you know, a little bit of hope, nope, gone. A little bit of hope, nope. So right here, frustration sets in. I don't know, can Bender ever win again? You know, we get back to here, okay, a little bit, okay, good. We got a bit of our money back, it ticked up, and then bang, back down again, okay? I'm done, forget it, this guy's a scam. This sucks, I hate this, I quit sports betting. My aunt died, whatever, I don't care, Bender, take me on a masterclass, I'm done, okay? There were people. I don't know, I haven't looked, but I guarantee, during this time, there's people that said, I'm out, I'm done, forget it, Bender, I don't want to do it, okay? On a map of this year, it looks like a little tiny blip. But when you were living it, 2 to 3 months of just downward momentum sucks. And the real tragedy of this is what we had there, okay? Now, this is a weird illustration. We don't expect to see this every year, but I honestly would feel for the people, you know, whatever, sitting here in like May or, you know, early June saying, you know what, forget this, I'm out, we'll see you later. And then to see that significant difference, like that is a massive uptick from there. And the only thing that these people had to do to get to this level, to get to a new high point, was nothing. Just do less, okay? Practice perfect bankroll management and focus long term. The biggest challenge that I have today across social media in helping this community, and that I've seen change over the last 6 years as new sports bettors enter in, the biggest challenge that I have is telling people to take a step back and focus on the long term. Because I'm telling you that this crazy uptick here, that doesn't matter, okay? This little downward, that doesn't matter. This uptick doesn't matter. This big U right here that I drew doesn't matter. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is right here and right there. And considering that we don't ever look at sports betting as, you know, let's have a winning week, let's have a winning month, let's have, you know, a winning year. It is a long-term ongoing entity. So what we really want to see, you know, is continued upward growth. And then, hey, maybe we have a losing year 1 year, right? Or then, you know, boom, and then back, and, you know, so on and so forth and whatever, okay? That is what the long term is going to look like. And really, when you look at someone who was right here, you know, where we finished off, you know, whatever, theoretically right here, right? Where we finished off, you know, someone that went through a little losing streak over a few months, or someone that quit here, you say, well, it really sucks, right? That they couldn't practice bankroll management because there's a nasty downturn. And this is reality where most people end up blowing their bankrolls up, chasing. They get down, you know, 15, 20, 25 units, say, oh, well, you know what? I got to get it back, right? 30 units, I got to get it back. You don't. That's the whole point. You don't. The only thing that fixes this is time. Because if you allow yourself to try to get it back like that, and it works, you're done. You're done. It doesn't matter that it just worked. It doesn't matter that you just got that money back. You are done for the simple reason that you will do it again. If it worked for you once, you will do it again. And if it doesn't work for you this time, well, you're out of the game anyways, okay? But the real tragedy of people quitting right here and saying, I can't do this, right? Is not that they would have got to this point. No. It's where they would have got to the other side of the room. Okay? When this chart goes on and on and on and on, because I've shown you guys the value of compound interest, and we've had, going back years and years and years, Every single year, 87, 110, 71, 53% return. Every one of those years, we have had significant losing streaks and we've had members quit. So the worst one, to go back and look at the first losing streak that we had in the first year where people said, I can't do this, enough is enough. Just think where they would be on this journey at this point. So again, focus long term. If you decide that masterclass isn't for you, that's totally cool. If you want to do this on your own, totally cool. But all this applies. Okay, all of this applies, that everybody is good when this is happening. Okay? Right here, we're all great sports bettors, right? I mean, that's when you guys, send the messages, wow, the GOAT, amazing, blah, 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 killing NFL, etc., etc. That's easy. Anyone can win. You are not a proper, legit, true professional until you can handle the downturns. Until you can handle here to here, 2.5, 3 months of just sliding lower and lower. How many people can emotionally handle that? Not that many. There's a reason, guys, why so few people win long-term at sports betting. They estimate anywhere from 1.5% of people win long-term at sports betting. I would argue that number right now to the grave. I would 1,000% argue that now with the influx of public betting, it is way lower than 1%. But we are easily, guys, the 1% of this space that have the capability to do it. I've shown over 4 years that we can find value, but it only works if you practice perfect bankroll management. The originals, the pioneers, the people who were here since day one, and it's amazing that there are so many of them, but the people who have been here since day one, they had to take a leap of faith. They had to go based on the fact that I was out giving out free picks, and I'd won a year of free picks for them. I'd done some good educational videos. I called out some of the shitheads in the industry, but they had to really take a leap of faith. There was no documented proof of like my past records, etc., etc. They had to just go on the fact that all they've seen is a few free pick winners. They took a leap of faith. They were rewarded. But now we're sitting at year 5, and all I've done every single year is win. So all I ask of you guys is, again, do what the people from year 1 did. Take the leap of faith. Know that over the long term, we will identify value. Math is on our side. This right here should balance out and be 50-50, zero sum. Okay? It only works if you approach this long term. All right, guys, I'm going to flip this over. I know a lot of people are excited about this because it is by far and away the number one thing that I get asked. Not even close. We've had so many people over the years say, well, Bender, how do you cap a game? Or how do you find value? Well, I'm going to walk you through it, and it's important I talk about this is where art meets math because it is equal parts. Okay, so capping games, where art meets math. This could not be more accurate because in sports betting, we want to make everything about math. Everything at the end of the day should come down to mathematics. But there has to be a certain level of art form and experience when it comes to capping these games. And so I'm going to start in the very beginning for you guys. I'm going to walk you through it. And step number 1, to me, probably my most fun. The one that I enjoy doing the most. And also these days, sometimes a little bit frustrating, which is be the book. Okay? You are the one. You are the genius in Vegas that everyone comes to and says, well, I guess the offshores now, but everyone comes to and says, all right, what's your line? What's the opening line going to be? But we're not setting an opening line trying to get, 50-50. We are setting a line based on what we believe the true line should be. So over here, we have a made-up game, Dallas versus Toronto. Naturally, all teams from Toronto are shit. So Dallas, we like them as a -8 favorite. Now, this is very, very much where it is an art form, okay? I will tell you when you're doing step number 1, when you're creating your own lines, and don't start out creating lines for every single game. Begin with 2 or 3 games, okay? Try to create accurate lines. Try not to have any outside influence in terms of media talking about this and that, or again, looking at the lines. This is why I get frustrated when, it's the night before and someone texts me or someone messages me and say, hey, any idea why OKC is only -3 tomorrow? And I kind of throw my hands up. I'm like, okay, well, now I know the line on the game. Is that going to influence me? I don't know. I try to have it not to, but I know where the line is, okay? I want to not know where the line is. I want to come into this blindfolded. I don't want to look at injury reports. I want to just create a line based on what I know about these teams, you can look at the statistics, all of this stuff, absolutely, right? You're going to create a line, but this is simply a starting point. And don't be afraid to be wrong. You guys have no idea how often I will create one of these lines and I'll be way off. And as I get further down in the steps, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. No wonder the line's off and yada, yada, yada. So this is simply a starting point, okay? So we've set a line. I've set a line in this game as -8, okay? So now we check the line. What's the line? Well, we got it -5.5. Okay, so I think it should be -8, -5.5. So we just run to the book and bet it, right? Wrong. This is simply our starting point. We now have to determine the question, is it value or is it something else? Okay, because maybe I mispriced my line. Maybe we're missing certain things from it. Maybe there's key players out. So we go on down the list, and that is where we start to get into exposing ourselves now finally to this information. Injuries, news, okay? So we look at this game. There's only two minor game time decisions, nothing really big. So we start to think, okay, you know what? We're not seeing a massive influence. Like if in this case we had seen that, Dallas shooting guard out. Well, okay, so you know what? We have to now refine our line. We say, you know what? He's worth 2 points on his own. So the true line should be down to, -6. We're probably not going to have a play at this point, okay? And the nice thing about going through this list is you can often rule out games fairly early. We can take a look at situations and say, yeah, you know what? If I come up with a line and say, the line should be -6, and the line comes out at -6, and that does happen, we can look at the other steps. We can quickly zoom through them, make sure that I'm not missing something again, right? But it's often a case where it's easy to just move on to the next one, okay? If you spent the full amount of time to go through all these steps in detail on every single game without ruling out games here and there, you'd be basically working 24 hours a day, okay? This is stuff that I can condense into 8 to 12 hours depending on the amount of stuff going on. I have to do my social media mixed in there and stuff. So you're finding places along here to basically nix a game and say, you know what? No value on that game, or I don't identify it. So this is one of those spots. But in this case, there's nothing really major here jumping out at us that will say that the injuries are affecting the lines. So now we're going to look at systems, okay? This is, down the list a little bit. And again, I've come out and I've said, look, there's some powerful systems out there. If you blindly bet them, you'll win money. But what gives us that real long-term edge is the combination of all of these things. Because what we're doing is trying to tell a story, right? What I tell you guys all the time, we want to create a narrative and a story where I could hop into an elevator and do the elevator pitch and tell you guys in 25 to 30 seconds why Dallas should cover 5.5 points, okay? So here we have a couple systems. So Dallas has two systems, one at 61%, one at 55%. Okay, so that's looking good. So far our story's looking good. We think it should be 8. The game's at 5.5. Nothing big on the injury report. We're seeing a couple systems line up here, starting to lean to the fact that we got some pretty good value here. Okay, now we're going to move on. We're going to check steam and reverse line moves. So for steam and reverse line moves, we've exited the part of the process where we are simply identifying value. We've now entered confirmation of this value. Okay, and what we're really ultimately looking for is not as much confirmation. We're looking to make sure that we're not finding anti-confirmation of that. We don't want to come out here now and see 5 steam bets all on Toronto. We see 5 steam bets on Toronto, on to the next game. We're not going up against that. Forget it. Doesn't matter. We're out. That's it. Okay. But we jump out here, First steam bet of the day, we can see the line open at 6.5. Toronto, 6.5. Vegas moves it down to, oh, that should be minus right here. Doesn't matter. Vegas moves it down to 4.5. Boom, buy back on the other side. Okay. Another one, Dallas, -5. Boom, steam, buyback. Brings us to where we are right now, sitting at 5.5. Now, we don't love seeing that Toronto there, but we do have 2 Dallas ones. So is this something we're immediately say, well, there's steam on Toronto, so we're out? No, definitely not. Is this going to eliminate this as being a potential 2-unit play? Most likely. Also, the fact that, 2.5 points is significant, okay? Likely a strong 1-unit candidate, okay? But that might have the fact that if we thought it was -9 and that's 5.5, we're looking at 2 units, very likely. This is likely going to eliminate the 1 unit, okay? Simply because this number is really in between where we think this should be and where we think that should be, okay? The fact that someone as sharp out there was willing to pay 6.5 and we think it's 8, we still know that there's value on this game, but we're probably not leaning full unit unless everything else lines up, okay? But let's continue on down the road here. Now we're looking at money distribution. So we have 43% of bets and 63% of money being placed on Dallas. So this is, again, confirmation. That 20% difference is confirmation that we're on the sharp side, okay? The reason this money is, grown, where it's only 43% of bets, but 63% of money, is because these are professionals betting, 20, 25, 30,000 a game. Syndicates moving hundreds of thousands of dollars around town. That's where you get that separation. That being said, we are above the 50% range on here. And in certain sports, i.e. the NFL, in certain sports, that is pause for concern. So this is something that, it's a sharp play, but we do have to consider the fact it's above 50%. What we would ideally like to see, the best money distribution, you guys know this, would be something here, we'll call it 38 and, 45, or, that's in the low end, that's 7 to 21% difference, but, say, 32 and 43. That would be fantastic, okay? That's really the low end of the ideal, the 7 to 21% difference between bets and money distribution. But right here, looking at an 11% difference, 32% of bets, 43% of money, that would be fantastic. Now, okay, here's where we go back into art. Okay, we started off as art, using all our knowledge and everything we know about sports and everything we know about following along to create this line, okay? And we're not beholden to this line. We can move this, we can change it, we can make acknowledgments. We can say, you know what? I was wrong. I didn't know about that injury. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, they're sitting this guy. Or, you know what? Hey, this is a must-win game for Toronto. If they have to win today or they don't make the playoffs. These are the types of things you can factor in, and you can make acknowledgments that, yeah, maybe you were wrong here. But the rest of it's math, okay? Here's where we get back into the art form. And this is, for lack of a better term, your feeling, your gut. And this is when people ask me, Bender, do you ever just bet on a game because you got a gut feeling? And my initial response when I first answered that question is no, never. It's about math and probability and percentages. I thought about it though. I thought about it. And I came to this conclusion. What is a gut feeling? Okay, and I talked about this. What is a gut feeling? A gut feeling is not here. It's right here. And a gut feeling that you get about a team happens because your mind has not been able to just push all your thoughts together to form a very clear and concise reasoning, but it is trying to tell you something. All your past experiences coming out and saying something doesn't feel right, okay? You get that as a professional after doing this for years, okay? There's times where you'll look at a game and, it lines up. This makes sense. And then you literally get to number 7 and where I wrote think, okay? Sit there, turn the TV off. I never have a TV on really with volume or anything when I'm capping anyways, but get it all right and just get in here. Okay, get in here and think. We like Dallas, okay? We think the line is off. Nothing major influencing it. There's a couple systems on it, Got a little bit of steam on Toronto, but we got 2 more on Dallas. Nice money distribution, not perfect, but nice. Does this work as a play? Okay, is there something I'm missing? Does something not feel right about this? Because you would be surprised the amount of times your inner voice is saying, you know what, it just doesn't feel right. And then you say, yeah, well, you know what, whatever, I'll put it down as a core unit play then. And it was going to be a half. I'll do a core unit play. I still want to get it. I don't want to miss out. I don't want FOMO, right? And they lose. And it's like you knew it. And it's almost more upsetting than losing a 1 unit play, losing that core unit play, because it just shouldn't have been on the card. And that adds up over time, okay? And if you can eliminate that over time, you're going to be filling a major gap. So this is a very important step. And this is back to the art side of things, where all your experiences, all your knowledge, all of your past capping of thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of games at this point in my career, I get to sit there and think, is this a good play? Am I missing something? Am I wrong about something? Basically, I've decided in this game, I like it. Okay, it looks good. I don't love that there's steam there. I don't love that the money distribution is about here. This is a very nice edge. That's worthy of 1 unit. But no, you know what? We got some steam. It's over 50%. We have ourselves a half unit play. Okay? And really, at the end of the day, we should try to make these unit sizings, when we're coming up with our own unit sizing, we should try to make this as much about the percentages as possible. Okay? You should try to equate that where, look, if you have a game that you actually believe is going to cover a spread at 60% or above, you're talking about 2 unit territory there. Okay? But you still want to see the other things line up. This number right here should come back to math, and at 90% of your decision should be based on math, and really just 10%. Okay? There are very few games where you get to this point and everything looks good and you got to bet and you think, that doesn't feel good. Like something's off about this, okay? It happens. Believe me. You'll know it when it happens. But it doesn't happen very often. So we want to make this number right here where we get a unit size really about the math of it. Now, to the final point I want to talk about, guys. This is a basketball game. Baseball is another animal. I have talked about baseball, guys, and I've come out here and said that year in and year out, MLB is always one of our top 3 sports. It is since day one, except for last year, which is a crazy anomaly. And you guys saw during that crazy ride where we had 110 units. We actually started off that year with one of the worst Januaries that I've ever had. One of the worst months I've ever had. We started that year. It turned out to be our best year in Masterclass. And we were down 25 units before February. Like, we're not coming back, right? That's what I'm saying. We're not coming back. It's game over, right? Baseball is what really got us that year. I mean, we had a month during that year where I think we lost maybe 4 days, 5 days. Like, it was insane. We were winning like every single day and crushing it. Like, not even just small, like big wins every day. Baseball, okay? But baseball, guys, and this is kind of my warning, baseball is a great sport for me because it offers more variables. The more variables and intangibles you factor into a sport, the less likely it is that A, the public's going to be on the right side and, influence the line in any way. And number 2, that Vegas is going to get the line right, okay? Vegas creates these lines for thousands of different bets a day. Thousands of bets, okay? Props, totals, sides, you name it. They're creating thousands of different bets. We can pick and choose the ones we want, all right? That is our edge. So when it comes to baseball, there is a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of factors, and it is why I've been so successful, okay? If you're creating lines in baseball, it is the most time-consuming, ridiculous thing that you're going to do all year, and I love it. I crave it. There's something wrong with me when it comes to math and number. I enjoy this stuff. I do. I like sitting down and doing this all day. I love it. I don't know why. I do, okay? But when it comes to that, there are a lot of variables you need to look at, okay? When you're capping totals, understanding weather, at the bare minimum, understanding the direction of the wind, understanding, is that roof going to be open or close that day. I mean, that goes for football as well. If you're betting a total in football and you don't know if that game's being played indoors or outdoors, or if it's going to be snowing or raining, or if it's going to be a 30-mile-an-hour wind, what chance do you have long term? You're basically guessing at that point. And baseball is no different. And not only is it no different, but baseball, and pardon my pun, is like capping other sports on steroids, okay? Because there's so many intangibles where we start looking at when we start looking at air density, okay? Understanding the impact of ball travel on dense air, okay? There's a reason, guys, I'm 1,000% sure that we have multiple commercial airline pilots in masterclass, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but they'll tell you you're often landing into the wind because it's going to give you what? Increased lift, okay? So understanding that increased lift, potentially more control, etc., okay? You certainly don't want to be landing, with a tailwind behind you blowing at 35, 40 knots or something. I mean, that'd be the last thing you'd probably want to do. We have to factor these things in baseball, okay? We have to understand what that ball is going to do. A couple years ago, I came out, I did a long video, and I talked about the importance of understanding spin rate, okay? Spin rate has a direct correlation, spin rate, velocity, and air density. And if you don't understand the air density, that is how thick the air is, okay, versus spin rate, how can you possibly cap how a pitcher is going to do versus the lineup? Okay, you cannot do it because you will not understand the hitability of that pitcher that day. And if you have a pitcher with very high ball movement, okay, he gets a lot of strikeouts based on movement of his fastball. He might have a fastball, gets a 6.5-inch drop on it. Like, just, it's insanity how much some of these pitchers can move their ball now with these increased spin rates. Well, if he's playing in Colorado and you know that the ADI is going to be very, very low that day, are we going to see as great an impact on his spin rate? No, because that ball needs something to grab onto, okay? It needs that dense air to be able to have it spin rate be effective and to have movement. So really what we might be looking at is where this guy gets fantastic league leading numbers because he has a great spin rate. Now he's playing in a situation, in an environment where his ball is not going to move as much and he is going to be much more normal. So if that game is going off and he might be minus 270 because he's an ace, right? There's almost always going to be value on the other side if that's the case. Pardon me. All right, so gonna wrap it up there, guys. Long video again. Too much talking. But it's important to focus on the long term, guys. When you're doing this at home, don't go out right away, first day, hero, cap every game. Pick 2 or 3 of them. See how close you are to where these games are finishing. See how close you are to finding with a true line. Okay? How often, when you cap a game and you say this is the right side, how often are you beating a closing line? You know what? I'll tell you right now, guys, the last thing I'm going to leave you with, going through all this, you sign a half unit play. I cannot guarantee we're going to win this. I don't know if we're going to win or lose. Not on any play. Okay? Professional sports bettors, 54 to 56%. Billy Walters, the great, 57%. This is about the long term. I cannot tell you on any one given day what's going to happen. Okay? But I know over the course of a year, we're almost always going to win because I've had one losing year out of 20 now. 1 out of 20. Okay? And over the long term, it is a certainty that we will win because we identify value, beat the closing line. So I want to win this game. There's no doubt about that. But to me as a capper, my reward is I see the closing line for this game as Dallas minus 7.5. I mean, God willing, the magical -8. I nailed it. That's what you say. Game comes out. Toronto wins the game outright by 14 points. You're sitting there thinking, shit. You don't play the game. We don't go out there and play. We don't coach it. We don't play it. Often we're not even in the stadiums when these games are being played. Almost all of the games. Very few we are. we have no impact. But if you do this, you beat the closing line, you find value, you don't skip steps, and you think, you'll make a lot of money, okay? Practice, practice, practice. This is where art meets math, all right? This is as much an art form as it is about mathematics. We always come back in sports betting to math, okay? Math and probability, okay? How we get our unit sizes, how we create this. We always want to come back to math, but we cannot for 1 second discount that this is an art form, okay? This is experience. It's saying, I've done this before, I've created these lines, I understand this situation, I know my line is accurate, I'm confident my line is accurate. You can win a lot of money doing this, and I think we've proven that over time. So this is the number one question I get asked, guys, and I really was excited about doing this. I hope, and I think I have, but I hope I explain this in the best way possible. Careful in baseball, guys, it is a different animal. I'm confident again that this year, coming in baseball, it's going to be one of our top 3. If I had to bet on it right now, I would say number 1 this year, because it has been so many times in my career. And in our first 4 years of Masterclass. I think we've had 2 baseballs and we've had 2 NFLs now. But I would not be surprised at all to see MLB go back on top for number 1 spot this year, okay? So think long term, guys. I know that it's challenging to go back to the other chart, where you show, I basically showed, this and then, downturn and then, this and this and this, okay? This is great. Look, we started here, we ended here. It's this right here, guys. This time that kills people, okay? It's the time that gets people to quit sports betting or to quit Masterclass anyways, because they can't handle 2 months or 3 months of sideways. This is about the rest of your lives, okay? I always include something in the corner in these recap videos. You guys know it from past videos. It is a breakdown of the compound interest, okay? I didn't do that this time. Go do it yourselves. Google compound interest calculator, okay? Throw in a bankroll, throw in $5,000, okay? Put in 65% return, 70, be conservative. Like, hey, look, you guys know return, be conservative. Put in, 60% return. Put in 10 years. You are a millionaire, okay? You're a millionaire with a $5,000 bankroll, okay? You could take that same $5,000, invest it in IBM, and you would most likely be sitting around $12,000 or $13,000 in 10 years. Exciting? Yeah. I don't know. You made $8,000, $9,000. It's not bad. We're talking about making millionaires here, guys. But you know what it requires? It requires you to do nothing. Right here. That is what I want from people. Write it out on a piece of paper, hang it on your wall, and simply say, do nothing. Circle it. Make a screensaver. Bender wins. Do nothing. Okay? Because maybe I should make a screensaver, seriously, or something. A shirt. Bender wins. Do nothing. I don't know. Because doing nothing here, guys, is what's going to give you everything. I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you very much for all the support year in and year out. I absolutely love this community, guys. Very, very excited for the rest of this year. Baseball, another football season on the horizons where, it's been absolutely fantastic year in, year out. We'll continue to keep an eye. We don't have that page. We'll continue to keep an eye on those bad beats. Again, we should see a normalization there where it gets back to 50-50. That is my hope and my expectations and what the math says it should do. If we continue down this path of having many more bad beats and good beats, I'm going to call in some legit heavy hitter professionals through, I never remember what it's called. Anyway, Ryerson, UFT, math guy, and I literally want to say, okay, what can you extrapolate out of these numbers? What's the actual true margin of error in how these numbers are set up, et cetera, because I would love to know that. Maybe get that on film, but I hope that's not the case. I hope we can get back to a point where 50-50. We don't want luck to come our way, okay? We don't care about that. All we want is have equal luck and equal bad luck, okay? And that's all we need. The rest of that, guys, it just is about math, time, and patience, okay? And I hope that people will exercise patience through these downturns and also patience during the upswings, because I know the likelihood when you're winning, to get that God complex and say, well, supposed to be betting $75 a unit, but I'm going to start betting 100. It's how you get into trouble. I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. And as always, guys, have a very lucky day, and bye for now.